Hi. I am going to be taking apart the suspension front and rear of my 04 WR450 so I could try to get some better performance out of this suspension. Here we go. Have our little shims taken out. We have everything ready for inspection, ready for reassembly. One of the things that I guess you want to pay pretty close attention to is the surface of the inner slider of the fork. You want to look for any big dings or gouges, and I don't know this for certain, but I would assume that a rule of thumb is that if you can feel it with your finger, it's too deep. You know, so you can tell if you have scratches that are too deep if you can feel them. If you do have those, I would say just try to buff them out. I just ran over this whole thing with a piece of 600 grit sandpaper, just cleaned it up, and I didn't have any bumps or nicks or anything. I can see an imperfection right here, but I sure can't feel it. So I buffed it for a while, you know, rubbed it with the sandpaper, and I got this tube just as clean and smooth as I possibly could. Here is the base valve disassembled. Here is the base valve. This is where all the damping occurs, and through these shims, this is called a single stage valve or single stage valving. The oil passes through this piston, or this is actually called the valve. The oil passes through here, and the shims that are sitting on top of here create a you know, the oil has to work to get through that shim, that spring, and that's what creates the damping. So this is the stuff that we're going to replace with the Racetech stuff. Here's the shock, the main shock components disassembled. A couple things that I want to pay attention to are the bushings. This is the bushing that goes onto the inner slide. It goes right here. So this surface, this outer surface, is what this fork tube is rubbing against. So you want to look for inconsistencies, big gouges, you know, stuff. If you see a flat spot worn in here, that I'm seeing like a light reflection there, but there is no flat spot in the Teflon. If you see a flat spot where it's worn clean through the Teflon into the copper on this surface, that means there's something that's rubbing, or there's a piece of junk in there, or maybe even you have a bent tube. But I don't see any, I mean, I see wear, but I don't see what I would call abnormal wear. And this is the bushing for that slides over this tube, that this tube rides in and out in. So we want to look at the inside of this one. This is just the copper. We don't really care so much about that. We want to look at the inside diameter of the Teflon. And again, I see no imperfections, no major imperfections. I mean, I see scoring from some wear, but that's about it. This is my old oil seal. It has 3 lips on it. Let me see if I can get a better view of it here. Hang on, bear with me. We used to call these chevrons, but anyhow, probably not going to be able to see this. There's a lip here, a lip. Where is it? Oh, I lost it. Now I can't see my own stuff. There's a lip right here, a lip right here, and a lip right here. 2 of the lips or chevrons point this way. One of them points this way. You want to install these so that the lips that point this way are pointing toward the oil in the fork. The one that points this way is more or less a wiper. Doesn't really do a whole lot of sealing. But another thing you can look at in these oil seals is just check for giant gouges coming out of it, or cuts or anything like that, and I don't see any in this oil seal. Now there's a couple schools of thought about reusing bushings and oil seals. Some guys think that just because you don't see anything wrong with it, that means you can go ahead and reuse it. I, on the other hand, think that if I've gone this far into the fork, I'm going to put new parts in. I don't want to waste my time with used parts. So the oil seal is going to go, the dust ring is going to go, the bushings are going to go, and we'll just set those over here so we don't get those confused with the new parts. So anyhow, I'm going to put this thing on the stand, and we're going to start looking at looking at our valving. Stand by. Okay, can you see? Okay. So this is what your Race Tech kit looks like. I have it upside down because I have parts in there. And since I've already rebuilt one fork, some parts I've taken out. But Race Tech gives you, let me see, make sure you can see that. This is the gold valve. This is what we're going to use. This is what we're going to replace. Put it on there so you can see it. This is what we're going to replace the valve with. You see it like that? Is that better? This is supposedly the be-all, end-all, and theoretically why is because around these oil passages, the gold valve is chamfered a little bit. So oil that's passing through this hole right here, it has an easier time getting through that hole, and the oil doesn't doesn't have turbulence or anything like that. The oil moves smoother through the valve. Same thing on the other side. It's chamfered where the oil goes in. The stock valve, there's no chamfering at all. So any fluid that's going in these passageways, as it hits those sharp edges, is going to create a little turbulence. I don't know what the value of that is. That's just what they say. So they also give you a whole bunch of new parts. You get new O-rings, a new top nut, new springs, new base plates and spacers, and you also get, where is it? The valving. Now I've already sorted out my valving. Let me show you what it looks like. It doesn't really matter exactly what it looks like, but I'm going to show you anyway. These are all the shims you get in the kit. I just have them in a separate bag that says new parts. You get a whole bunch of shims in there. All the shims you need are already in the kit. So how do you know which shims you use? That's the million-dollar question, I guess. So when you go there, you get your kit. Each kit has a number, a specific, I guess, control number or serial number. Mine is right here. It looks like one of those Windows authentication numbers. To find out what your valving is, you go to racetech.com, enter in that number in what they call the digital valving search, and it tells you what valving you use. Now, this number is good for 5 minutes. So when you screw it up like I did, and you have to go back and do it again, you have to call Racetech back, and they're going to send you another number. But this number right here, this number here, is no longer any good because I've already used it and I already screwed it up. So you enter that number, and you get printed out what's called your valving, your Racetech digital valving search. Now you can do this a couple of ways. I just saved the thing to a file and printed it up as a PDF. Or you can do a, I guess, screenshot or whatever, but this is the thing that gets printed up. It picks your, it shows you your weight. These are things that you enter. Your weight, what kind of riding you do, what you call yourself, intermediate, A, B, C, that sort of thing, your age, your height. I have oversized gas tank. I chose standard stiffness. The standard stiffness, that's a drop box that you can select on the DVS thing. It gives you normal or standard stiffness, soft, prefers soft, like I would prefer softer suspension, or prefers firm. I of course did a printout for each one. That's kind of silly because I'll show you about that in a minute. But anyhow, this is what you get. And the important thing is gold valve compression valving. My valve is a single stage valve. It only has, I don't know, I guess you call it high speed valving. I don't know if you call it low speed or high speed when there's only one stage. If you select two-stage valving, there's an option for this thing where you can actually select what stage valving you have. If you select two-stage valving, it'll say in here, go back and select single stage if you indeed should be having single stage. So that give you a level of confidence that if you go screw it up, you can go back and fix it within 5 minutes. And by the way, you can call just like I did and get new numbers if you blow it real bad. Anyway, so this is it. It says gold valve compression valving CH9. That's for me. Now, what does CH9 mean? Go back to your instructions that came with the kit, and back here, where is it? Where is it? This is for the shock. I need the fork. I've got the wrong instructions here. Where's my instructions? Well, that's fascinating. I'm going to go find my instructions. Stand by. Okay, are we on? Yes. So here are the instructions for the shock. So that number CH9, you go back in here and you find out what CH9 means. This is CH9. Each one of these columns has a number. This is CH1, this is CH9, this is CH10, CH11, CH20. And if you had a low speed compression, you'd see CL something up in here. But they gave me CH9 for single stage damping, and that's this. It gives you the list. I don't know if you can see this. Maybe. Anyhow, it gives you the dimensions and numbers of your shim stack. So then you go into this giant pile of shims that they just give you in a bag, similar to this, and you find out which shims are, in my case, 0.15 millimeters by 0.21 millimeters. Now I made notes here to convert to inches because I don't have a metric micrometer. But then you go into this pile of shims, this pile, and you find out which one of these which shims match this. And once you have that figured out, then you can make your own custom shim stack, and that's what this is. So we have, this is our brand new shims. We have our new valve. We have all of our new parts. So let's go through the assembly. Now I'm not going to go through using, well, I am going to go through using the directions, but I'm not going to read them to you. The directions are very, very clear. They've obviously answered a lot of dumb questions about this process, and they've managed to iron that out through the directions. So the biggest thing I would say that you have to be careful of is make sure you put the valve in the right way. Put the valve in according to this picture with the recess on top. There's a recess that's clearly here in the valve, so that end is going to go toward the nut. That's key. Anyhow, so what we're going to do now is put our valve back together. Now we can use either the base plate that came with the kit, or we can use a new base plate. I'm going to use the one that came with the kit. And then we're going to put in our valve stack. And the valve stack is goes in kind of upside down. So if you have your stack arranged, where's my wire cutters? Have your stack arranged on a little zip tie like I do, just because I already mic'd it and I didn't want to spend a lot of time doing it. This goes on the base valve with the littlest one first, okay? So let me cut this off, and I'll just start putting on my shims.